I am now inviting our very esteemed panel out here. Here is a topic CXO panel, Building the Bank of Tomorrow, the next chapter in India's bank transformation. Well, first and foremost, I'll privileged and glad to call upon our first panelist, Indraneel Pandit, Chief Digital Officer, the Federal Bank. Can we have a huge round of applause and welcome him on stage, please? Hello, sir, and a very warm welcome. Joining this fabulous panel is Vishram Dixit, MD and CEO, Dombivli, Nagari, Sahakari Bank. Can we have a huge round of applause and welcome him, please? Next, joining us on the stage is Ravindra Singh, Negi Group Chief Risk Officer, Bank of Baroda. I may also like to invite our moderator, Gursharan Rai Bansal, CGM, Chief Sales and Marketing Officer, India Post Payment Bank. We also have one of the list of fabulous panel, Shuchi Mahajan, Head of Fraud Prevention and Analytics, HDFC Bank, to join us for this panel. Can we have a huge round of applause and welcome Shuchi? Shuchi, we have already heard of you and very keen on hearing from you on this topic, that what will be the bank of tomorrow look like. Can we all sit according to the panel? Yeah. I think before heading and letting us know what will be the bank of tomorrow look like, can we have a huge round of applause for the panelists out here? Thank you, our esteemed panel, for joining us, and it will be great hearing from you. And I think it's going to be a concluding session, but we'll have a lot of key takeaway home from this productive session. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much. And welcome all of you back to this session, post-lunch session, and we hope we keep it interesting and lively. What I've asked my panelists, fellow panelists, is that let us, try and keep the thing, as much as possible with live examples, right? Or real life situations, or what is actually happening in the respective organizations, and then connect the dots. And basically what I've told is that basically the tale is in the telling, If the tale is told properly, I think it is better understood and better remembered. So I think what we are going to gather from here, what we are going to remember from here is what, the panelists have told in a interesting manner. And I hope that all of us will try and make this subject and this discussion as interesting as possible. So I basically joining in from India Post Payments Bank, and I have been one of the founder members, and I can tell you that, our bank typically has been, 100% digital bank. Today, we are one of the largest and the fastest growing banks in the country, and primarily aiming to, get into financial inclusion. So digital has been the way of life for us. So you would be happy and surprised to note that we today have almost 13.23 crores of customers, and not even a single paper signed by any customer. Not even a single paper. And this is the power of digitization. So it is basically a high-tech with a high-touch organization. So it is driven by technology and delivered by humans. So I think that is the idea. And today we are transforming our banks, and the bank is further going with a lot of innovations. Every day we think and talk about innovations and discuss innovation and try and improve ourselves, work on the rails of technology. And we have close tie-ups and closely we are working with fintechs because, we cannot, innovate and, develop everything in-house. So we have to depend on the fintechs and for innovation and new technologies and new stuff. So I'll move to my panel, basically the first question is that transforming banks into data-driven and customer-first institutions. What are the steps, what are the innovative steps and the technology steps that we are going to take or we are taking? I would go to Mr. Negi to answer this question first. Thank you.
So first of all, thank you, Gursharan Ji and Synnex for inviting me over here. Such a wonderful, actually, discussion. And last discussion also we are going through. Again, the similar, actually, some of the points I'll actually borrow from there. And when you talk about like transformation, so our transformation, you see, is linked to the, actually, India's growth story. And the way the digital payments are actually growing in the country, the way we are progressing, it is one of the actually green spot around the world, and therefore is attracting a lot of investment. We remain one of the fastest growing economy, and therefore the financial system is always the reflection of the economy and is the backbone actually of the economy. And in that sense, we continue to grow and transform ourselves. And our vision, our values are actually aligned to the Viksit Bharat of Government of India's Vision 2047. So Gursharan Ji has specifically told us that we need to actually exemplify so that it actually makes something real and not to get lost in the jargons and all. So I'll talk about Bank of Baroda because I've spent here 3 decades of service now. And once you go, how the banking is being transformed is one of the example is physical branches. So previously also in the panel, we have heard that it's not going that the just machine will be there, but it's actually AI plus HI. So artificial intelligence and human intelligence will have to work together. And therefore, you will see this in our physical branches, and we are opening quite a good number of branches. And I'll request all of you if you can visit those branches. So what is there in those branches? And he talked about the customer experience. So everything we do actually has customer is at the center, and therefore his experience matters to us, and that trust matters to us. And you will go there, you will find not that the crowded place or crowded in terms of the staff, but optimal staff members which give you the physical presence, which give you the human interaction. At the same time, machines. So in terms of machine, for example, one of the example is for us is Aditi. So Aditi is our chatbot. You can interact with Aditi in any of the languages. English also you can speak, Hindi also you can speak, and you can also type to the Aditi. And today we provide more than 14 services through Aditi. It's a seamless. You have to just go to the physical branch, you click on this, you verify your credentials, and therefore seamlessly Aditi can help you actually with the lot of information around our product and services. At the same time, help you actually deliver those services within seconds. Online also you can interact with Aditi through our website. So that is one of the fantastic example. We have seen huge actually response to Aditi, and the customer response is very, very well received. So these are some of the things which are happening. When we come to the internal side of it, so a lot of staff, now you might see the average age of the Indian, the median age is now 29. Now, with the old people getting retired in the banking, so what we feel the wisdom, that wisdom was there, which is getting actually lost. And slowly the new people are taking over. It is becoming more of a younger. So now young generation, you will see they want the knowledge at their tap. So they don't want to go through lengthy circulars, guidelines, and then get lost in that. But can you provide the knowledge at tap so that they can effectively use that knowledge to serve the customer as you actually type in your commands in ChatGPT and you get the steps, what you need to perform. And similar is for internal system is Gyan Sahai, which bank has invented. And today our employees can go to it, can query, and it can give you the steps which you need to follow in terms of like customer service, and it's at the click of a button. Third thing which is happening is on the making the organization data-driven organization. And we have started with Copilot. So for example, as you chat with the ChatGPT, you derive your satisfaction, you get the information. But that is not where we can actually upload our documents and then actually derive that intelligence, because this very confidential thing, we deal with the customer data. And therefore, we have Copilot from Microsoft. and the underlying inventory is like SLM, and then you can query on top of this database. If my regional head or anybody in the bank or as a risk officer, I want to know what exactly is going on, what is the trend in the transaction, I can always query it, and it gives me in a fashion which you get from the chat GPT, so it's an internal system. So some of the powerful cases, and as I go forward, I think I'll be sharing more. So thank you. I see transformation in this way.
Wonderful. So I think we've discussed here about CRM, the customer service, the chatbots, the agentic AI, and also the L&D, learning and development, sales copilot. So a lot of things I think banks are doing, and it's all, I think, innovation and technology at its best. So moving on, we move on to Mr. Dixit. So AI and automation in banking. Typically, we would like to have your views on how you are driving innovation in your bank.
I come here to represent cooperative banking as a whole, not just the DNS. DNS is all equipped. DNS is all like all private sector banks, all public sector banks, and all NBFCs. So DNS is also internet banking organization, but I am representing the total cooperation sector here. It is giving 3.5% to the total financial sector, overall capping. But one way, the scale is there. Scale is different. Number of people, number of organizations into cooperation, and catering to the last person in the society. So the views are different. We started our organizations in cooperation just to give an end person a positive banking inclusion and giving them the financial strength and taking them from the normal path to a better living organizations, better living businesses, and better prospects for themselves. So, starting off late in cooperation, cooperative banking, technology is a different ball game. We cannot have, just for the sake of competition, go and take some technologies which Bank of Baroda or SDFC or Indian Post Bank may acquire. So here our governance come into picture. What we want, what our customer wants, what are our needs of near 5 years future, that are our requirements. So we drive in 3 S. First is updating skills, which is a core issue in the cooperation. Second one, systems and services whom they are to be consumed. Second part. And third part lies is the scalability of the organization. You can see in the cooperation there are many banks in Tier 3 and Tier 4 who have contributed more than 60% of the total cooperation. Most predominantly, the player is Saraswat, and which is almost a bank across India, and like any other private sector or the public sector bank, it has grown in multifold activities, and now they are acquiring all the requirements, including AI. So the path of cooperation is such. Whenever there is a requirement, they will try to grab it. They will try to improve themselves, and we have left aside the problems that were arising in the small sector, small cooperative banks. And few cooperative banks may be an issue, but that is not all across. So cooperative banks are changing. Physical work, physical attention, physical interaction will remain for some time now, but banks are using AI. For what purposes we are using AI? FRMS. Then, another purpose we are using AI is to understand the background of the customer externally and internally, and then taking the credit underwriting process. Then, what purpose we are using the AI is to build up our own processes which could cater to the requirements of our focused customers or future customers. So this is all in cooperation. We have problems of capital augmentation for the purpose of technology to be considered. So we consider the technology that is most suitable, that is most required, and that will give growth for our organizations.
Wonderful.
I'll just
yeah.
add to both data transformation, AI, and customer service, because I think both of these things are completely interrelated, because unless you don't have the right data, unless you don't feed the right information, you're not going to get the right AI results, right? And when you talk about digital transformation, I think what's also very important is, what does the customer want? A decade ago, it was okay to tell the customer the only place you can bank is the branch or internet banking. Today, it's no longer the case. You have to take banking to where the customer is. And I think that is another thing which requires a complete transformation. WhatsApp banking is something which is coming up. Conversational banking, why can I not be on my app and talk to my app to do transactions, right? Is it there yet? Maybe not. But can we aspire to get there? I think totally, because that is where it's going to be there. The second other important thing is, how can you use AI models to predict a customer might attrite, right? Predictive attrition. Are there some complaints that the customer said? What is the kind of resolution that the customer has had? Can I go to the RM and give the next best action to the RM? Either it can be on upselling, or it can be on resolving a customer complaint, and then talk about an omni-channel presence. Today, the major pain point that people have is that the branch doesn't know the complaint raised by the customer, the phone banking has no idea, and if they route the complaint through an email, it all goes in separate pockets, and people have to repeat their grievances again and again. The thing that is going to change is that if a phone banking agent gets a call, he or she knows exactly what has happened so far on the entire record. That completely changes the face of the game. And I think that is where omni-channel experience, AI, will really make a difference. Of course, fraud prevention is one place where we have actually seen a lot of difference in terms of how we are declining transactions or not declining transactions because of the AI models we use. But yeah, I just thought I'll add a couple of points.
Very, very true. And I think it is more about predictive rather than reactive. So that's what you actually alluded to. And I think, again, the scenario, the customer is the king. And in fact, what we have moved on and what we're trying to move on to is, rather than customer satisfaction, we are moving on to customer delight, where the customer feels really happy, and if wants and he recommends. So the recommendation of the customer is to more and more. One happy customer recommends to 10 other customers, or one dissatisfied customer is equal to 100 customers who's been recommended to. I think that theory is still holding true, and I feel that the way even the cooperative banks are changing, I think the banking industry as a whole, I would say, is undergoing a major transformation. So moving on to Mr. Indraneel, I would say. So responsible AI to navigate regulatory landscape. So ensuring compliance. So I think this is one of the very key aspects, because while we are optimistic, but we also have to be realistic, and we also have to be compliant. And while going ahead, while moving fast, while being enthusiastic about AI and technology, we have to be very, very compliant. And compliance first is the rule in banking, I suppose. Everybody knows that. So I think we would like to have your views, sir.
Thank you, sir. I think, and thank you to the audience for being here. I think Ravindra ji made a very important point, and I'll pick up from that, that we are dealing with public data. And there was also a point made, I think Shuchi ji made it, is that the quality of the output from AI depends on the data you feed. So essentially, if you look at AI, there are only two things over there. One is the computing power, and the second is the data, quality of the data. And that is why you see the AI revolution. AI is actually very old. It has its roots right down to the 1950s. Why has it taken off in such a big way recently and reached an inflection point is because both these things have now come of age. So compute has now reached a tipping point where GPUs are available and they are making parallel processing easy. And data, a lot of digital data has come in because of the digital revolution set in place by various things like the NPCI, UPI, etc. Now, all this data belongs to customers. And Gursharan ji made a very important point that we are fiduciary institutions. We are custodians of your data, right? I mean, it is very tempting to throw AI at everything, but you have to also realize that while AI is old, generative AI is very new. I think most of us here may not have realized it, but in October 2023, there was nothing called ChatGPT. There was nothing called generative AI. AI was there, but nobody understood it. I mean, the AI that all of us are referring to here probably is generative AI. And today there is nothing without AI. So if you count, actually, it's less than 3 years, 2.5 years or so to be precise. So it's a very, very nascent technology, evolving every week. People who are inventing it have not understood it yet. And a generative AI model is by definition a black box. So nobody really knows what happens to data when it goes in. Of course, there is a science behind it. It's not all black magic. But you have to be very careful because, I'll give a simple example. If you query suppose I send Vishramji's data into an LLM, and the LLM basically gives me a response. And after that, suppose Ravindra ji logs into it and asks the LLM, what data went just now? So there'll be guardrails saying, I can't tell you, etc., etc. But, you can ask a series of questions. If I send a picture of a lemon, for example, and if I ask what picture did I send, it will not tell you. But I can say, what did I send? Did I send a city? No. Did I send a vehicle? No. Did I send a fruit? Yes. Was it red? No. Was it green? No. Was it yellow? Yes. Was it sweet? No. Was it sour? Yes. Now, yellow fruit sour is obviously a lemon, right? Now, this is a very trivial example. But coming to the earlier example, if even 70% accuracy, with 70% accuracy, if Vishramji's data leaks out, then it's going to be a major issue for him, not for me. Of course, for me by corollary. So we have to be very, very cognizant of the fact that this is a nascent technology. AI is a mature technology, and AI all banks have been using. So all the next best offers, etc., that Shuchi ji was referring to, etc., have been there for a while. That is classical AI. Generative AI, we have to be very careful. The RBI has actually done a very commendable thing by publishing the free AI guidelines. And of course, there's a lot more to come. But I think we have to be very, very mindful of the data that we are holding on your behalf, because it will be very embarrassing and very damaging. All of you would have heard of Mythos, which is coming now, which is probably the next thing that we have to look out for. Quantum computing will go GA in 2029. When I say GA, I mean generally available. So right now it's in the laboratories. But by 2029 or 30, people are saying that it will become available to you and me, everybody, commercially. Now, these are game-changing paradigms. So effectively, what it means that most of the encryptions that we have used till now, or as simple as something that you use for encrypting your documents with WinZip or whatever, could potentially be broken into very easily, right? And these data, I mean, there are hackers who are harvesting this data. They are keeping it, they are buying it, they are storing it and waiting for the right encryption to become available. So I'm pretty sure all of you would be getting, I'm slightly digressing, but all of you get very angry when banks force you to change your password after every 90 days. That is the reason. Because if you don't change your password for 3 years, then your password will be broken into at that time. Of course, banks are working on a lot of things like PQC, post-quantum cryptography, etc. But yeah, coming back, I think I digressed a little bit. But regulatory banks are highly regulated institutions, and they are regulated for a reason. So I think we have to respect that.
Very well said, Mr. Indraneel. And I think, we have to understand that AI, as we all know, just like we used to talk about electricity, it can be a good servant, but a very bad master. So generative AI, as he has said, we have to be very careful of. Agentic AI, for example, it takes control of the conversations, it takes control of various things. So, but we have to work with the guardrails, and we have to be very, very careful. And as far as as he has mentioned, regulatory guidelines have been already issued. For the banks, typically, all our software, everything is getting audited, and we have to be absolutely compliant while even launching new softwares, new programs, new technology for various activities. And the thing is also audited by a system auditor in the RBI, and very, very sharp audits are being conducted. So I think it is all for the good of the organization, the banks, as well as for the customers, as well as for the nation as a whole. Because one mistake done by one single bank can also, shatter the confidence of maybe thousands of customers, and it can become a very bad news. So we have to be all very, very careful while we launch and delve deeply into technology. And we have to, always, work with caution. So coming back to Shuchi, as we have said, and we have seen that, a lot of frauds are happening all across, all around. And, I was just recently talking to my, fellow bankers. Just about 2 to 3 years back, we never had heard about I4C, the digital fraud number 1930, and all these things, they have come into the picture just recently, and we've all been into digital, but we never heard of these kind of frauds, the digital arrest and stuff like that. So as the evolution of AI in banking is happening, the buzzword for AI is very, very clearly it is there. But also the fraudsters are, creating new vectors. They are also becoming smarter and they are becoming more digitally savvy. So what exactly, your experience being in fraud and risk, so what exactly are the banks doing to counter that?
Okay, so before I tell you what the banks are doing, it's very interesting to know what the fraudsters are doing. So every technology is a boon or a bane depending on how it's used. And that's the exact same thing which is happening with AI. And there are multiple things that is happening. We are all digital, so much digital that our lives are on social media, left, right, and center. Anybody and everybody knows what we do, what we like, our reels, what our children are doing, what our grandparents are doing, what our parents, everything, right? And how difficult it is for a fraudster to keep an agent and surf your entire life history and put that right context, merge that context with maybe the current geopolitical scenario or something related to a car accident or something, and call you using a deep fake video and pretend to be somebody in your relatives who is under arrest. Nothing. They don't have compliance. They don't have rules. They have the entire 1.5 billion population of our country and 8+ billion population of the world to try, test, fail, retry. And it's amazing the way they use it. And what exactly do? They use us. We are the weaklings, humans. They use emotions, fear, threat, greed, help, anything. And to back it up, they use technology. So even if you do get added in a group on WhatsApp for investment opportunities, where they will say that, you will double your money in a month's time. It's not blind faith that they are making. They will actually give you an app. They'll make you invest just 10,000 rupees. They'll give you an app which will show you notional returns. First, they will allow you to withdraw that money. You will get 5,000 rupees as earnings. So 10,000 per 5,000 rupees, a 50% growth in 1 week's time. Fantastic. There, the trust. The app looks genuine, another trust. Then, what does a normal person do? Put as much money as you want. Break your FDs, break everything and put every money there. And then they will tell you that we need so much money, we need 45 days for us to kind of, we double your money. In 45 days, your money is gone out of the world. I don't know where. And by the time you realize, it's too late. Similarly, you've got the APK frauds that are happening. You will get either you have an RTO challan, you have a Happy New Year GIF, a wedding invite during wedding season, or there is going to be a lockdown from the government. It can be anything. The backend file is the same. The moment you click and download, your device control goes into the fraudster, call forwarding, SMS forwarding, everything goes there. All your details are compromised, your transactions happen, and you have no idea what's happening. By the time you realize, a little bit too late, right? So they are using technology, AI of course, part of the technology, and the human link, and committing all kinds of frauds, and very well connecting it to the real life scenarios. So it's very difficult to say that, I'm too good or I'm very well educated, I'm tech savvy, it can't happen to me. it can happen to anyone. So as bankers, obviously you have to use the same ammunition to again fight the same war. Otherwise, this is not a war that you will win if you can't use it. But is that the only thing that you use? We have to keep our fortress covered from all angles, right? And we call it the 4-5 pillar approach that we use. First, how do you let the customer know that he or she is coming to the bank? And that is something that now we have our websites, which is hdfc.bank.in or whatever. So all of us have those same websites. Our email IDs have to be consistent. Headers, SMS headers are consistent. 1600 is coming from bank. Now those are ways the government and the banks are working together to get people to know this is a genuine call or this is a genuine website. Don't fall prey to it. Then when you have your own platforms, how do you kind of protect those? You have SIM binding. Now SIM binding is getting spoofed. You have silent mobile verification. Those are things. You have wrappers so that in case you're in a malicious Wi-Fi, malicious network, you have an app which is not right, you have certain actions that you take. Then once you've downloaded the platforms, we put some other controls. Most of us banks will have new beneficiary cooling period or certain limits that are there. Again, enough warning. And then you do 24/7 monitoring, and that is where we also use AI. Can I monitor millions of transactions with all the signals possible, IP, device, behavior, pause time, all of those things, to generate an alert in the real time and tell the customer that, are you doing the transaction? Decline the transaction or just alert the transaction, right? These are the things that you do. The last thing that you do is awareness. We have a brand mascot called Vigilante. I don't know if you guys have seen her, but that is our way of trying to reach to every citizen of the country and create awareness. And last but not the least is consortium. Today, what the fraudsters are feeding on is that we don't talk to each other. Of course, we talk, but when it actually comes to sharing data real time, having a consortium of how the data can flow, that's not something that's there. With 1930, you've got APIs coming in. With DPIP, you're going to get certain things. So yes, we've started moving in that direction, but that's a change which we need to move at a much faster pace. And all of these things together is how we try and manage the fraudsters and stay a little ahead of them.
That's great. That's great. In fact, when we work on certain, in our bank, we have something called hotspots, and typically, places like Dosa, Palwal, all this Jamtara, and all these places, in some places in Bihar, Andhra, there'll be some hotspots where, the fraudsters, they are concentrated, and where, therefore, we are extra cautious, extra careful while opening accounts, customer acquisitions, or transactions. In all those things, we are extra careful, and we do something called EDD, which is enhanced due diligence for all the customers' transactions over there. And as Shuchi was mentioning that, we also have something called real-time transaction monitoring. Nowadays, you would have probably seen that many of the official website, WhatsApp, numbers, they carry a blue tick. So therefore that basically gives you an assurance that this is the genuine, WhatsApp official number of the organization, so that you don't fall into a trap or something wrong. So similar things, like for example, a warning message. For example, if I do a large transaction, there'll be immediately there'll be a pop-up that, are you sure you're doing the transaction? Are you sure you're not digitally getting arrested? Even that kind of message I have seen in one of the banks, this thing. So it's a very, a good thing that, and this is, I think, also again, a digital transformation. What we are talking about today is, this is a digital transformation that as the fraudsters, we had discussed, as the fraudsters are getting smarter, we have to get one step ahead, and we have to get smarter. And the 1600 number, which has been introduced by the regulator, is one step ahead, because this 1600 number cannot be obtained by a fraudster. And there are basically businesses which are running, on this scams and all. So they know that दिन में अगर 100 phone किए, एक भी फंस गया तो हमारे पूरे दिन की दिहाड़ी के पूरे महीने का खर्चा निकल जाएगा. So that kind of thing is the thought of those kind of fraudsters. So coming back, so leveraging AI and automation to transform operations and driving efficiency, generating revenue, reducing risk, and enhancing customer experiences. Again, I would like to again ask Mr. Negi, what are your views in terms of how we can actually sharpen the whole thing and take it better for the customer?
On the technology side, as I said previously, that how we are actually driving the customer experience through AI. And on the other side, always when you involve the technology like AI or when you do, for example, digital lending, the operating cost is always lower. And today, if you see Indian banks, the operating cost will range from, say, 36-37% to it might go to like 60-65%. And that's a huge cost which is incurred. And it's not about cost, but it does make your processes very cumbersome because your cost will go there only once you look at the processes. So one of the things which actually AI has done or machine learning has done has helped us to transform these processes from the manual or semi-manual, semi-automatic to the fully automatic side of it, and doing those routine tasks for us so that we can free up human being for some more productive tasks, some more creative tasks, or at least being a watchman, which is our job role as a risk manager. So I think AI and machine learning and these technologies, they bring a lot of efficiency and they help us in reducing the operating cost. But the other side is also there, and one of the things I like, Shuchi put it up, Indraneel ji was putting it up, and then we had from Vishram ji also regarding the risk side of it and how to make the organization very resilient. So other side of it is like, for example, what the fraudsters are thinking about and what exactly is their next move. And it has really become a challenge for the financial system. If you see the cyber crimes, they're day by day increasing. And these fraudsters, they are sitting in Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, and Bangkok. And from there, they are operating. And you might have seen that they have set up their scam centers there. They have well-organized IT system, HR system, and they are organized. And therefore, it is called organized scams. What operates within India is a kind of like they recruit people for it. They will source mule accounts. They will channelize this money. But the real brain of these fraudsters is sitting outside. They're fighting from there. And as Shuchi rightly put it up that for them, they can play around with all sort of technology. They are not regulated. They can have all that random walk. They can play around. They can choose their victims and all. But for us, we are good actors, and we use the AI very responsibly, and we have to abide by regulatory guidelines as Indraneel ji was putting it up. And therefore, it's a daily war between a good actor and bad actor. So now the fight is that how do you create the safest bank of India? It's technology, okay, fine. But at the end of the day, the customer trust will be based on the safety which bank has provided to its funds. And therefore, there is a constant fight to establish and to prove that, yes, you are a safe bank, and yes, I can trust my money with you. So this is on that side, and we continuously try to evolve. One very good thing is happening on that side, that it's not a single problem of a bank, it's an ecosystem problem. So for example, the infrastructure of the telecom is used to make these kind of calls to source the SIM, and you might have seen this. So again, Department of Telecom, they do their analytics, and today we are integrated with Department of Telecom and all other banks like HDFC. And on real time, we exchange the information, and we are able to share that intelligence. Today, we are integrated with the I4C, which is the Department of Ministry of Home Affairs, so on a suspicious registry side, or whenever you fall for a fraud and then you dial 1930, so we are API integrated, and immediately the response goes and the accounts are frozen, whatever funds are left. We have other side, RBI Innovation Hub from RBI, a great initiative, I'll call it. They have great data scientists sitting over there and inventing, and free of cost. They're not charging to us, but they are building those models to us. And we do have deployed RBI MuleHunter.ai, which again helps us in a preventive kind of risk management. We are able to identify mule patterns and take action on time. So as an ecosystem, as we come together, I think our ability to fight this war is increasing. And that is where we see over the next 3-5 years, these kind of frauds declining, and the good actor and the hero at the end of the war will win. Second is climate risk and ESG. I mean, most of the discussion around industry, what I have seen is around AI and climate risk or ESG. All of us have seen how the climate risk can actually disrupt your operations. And kind of like the heat which is happening there, all of us have witnessed. And at India, we are also at one of the risks. And therefore, to have that resilient organization, you need to manage these two risks. One is the cyber crimes, other side is how do you actually invest into becoming a sustainable banking, and how do you bring those practices. So at Bank of Baroda, we do a great job in that terms, and we have especially set up climate risk management desk, ESG desk, and we take a lot of initiatives and voluntary action of the employees to actually take banks forward and have those kind of sustainable banking practices. And last time, we were the first bank, we raised 10,000 crore from Indian market in rupee, and it was the first time any bank did. And we tested this market when the times are very, very tough. I mean, to go to the market, you will really challenge the market. And this time, we got that at 7.10. And in fact, market said there is a grey name attached to it. And this was 1.6 times oversubscribed. So just think about it, the public and the people, the Gen Z or millennium, what exactly they are looking for? They are looking for a bank which is resilient in terms of climate risk, ESG, which cares, and where the generation feel, yes, we are leaving for them a better planet tomorrow. So therefore, these two things, they become extremely, extremely important. And there, I think, entire banking system is focused. And this aligns with the goal of Government of India of Dixit Bharat 2047, and there again we have aligned our own strategies.
Wonderful. I think you've covered large, portions of, and various aspects of the technology and innovation. Coming back to Mr. Vishram Dixit, I would like to understand from you, how do you foster the culture of innovation and digital, processes in the organization?
I think coming DPDP compliance will take the culture itself. Because consent management is going to be a buzzword, and without that, doing something is a penalty minimum 50 crores to 250 crores. So it will shake any of the organization, not just the cooperative banking. So the one aspect is that, and the second aspect is data in rest and data in transit. So when we were talking about the organizations working against the society, when society fall into those false presentations, false understanding, because they get lured with the amount which they are going to earn out of them. If the society doesn't want get themselves to lured for those services, there are very less chances that they can be cheated by someone. So the organizational background, keeping the risk on the top, governance to follow that risk, and the rest will come is the growth. While doing so, the organization has to think that whatever we are giving to the society is for their benevolence, their requirements, and the growth is coming back to us like a karma. So you want to give something to the society in a better format that will return back to you in terms of the growth, should be the strategy. And then those organizations which are cheating, you should be able to give guidance to your customer all across from the channels which are available with you, and send them across the feelers, give them the required information so that they cannot go to the wrong hands, and they will remain with you for generations, including Gen Z. Thank you.
Wonderful. I think, again, the DPDP Act and also ethical, sales, ethical business is the basic foundation on which we build digital and technology and innovation. So coming back to Mr. Indraneel, you being the CDO, sir, one question I would like to ask you is, getting into technology, as you mentioned, GPUs, today are being deployed, but looking at the current scenario in terms of, how the world is moving in terms of the hyperscalers, they have really escalated and driven the cost sky roof, and what are your thoughts about, the cost of digitization and, technology and, bringing in more and more speed speed and innovations and stuff into the banks?
So touching on the aspect of cost, I think, and when I spoke earlier, I said, it's very tempting to throw AI at everything. And there is a FOMO which, everybody asks, "Aap AI mein kya kar rahe ho?" And everybody is then scrambling to do something on AI. We have to also take a step back and understand that, like you rightly said, sir, there is a cost to it, and that cost is difficult to predict, or rather very, very difficult to predict. Token cost, which, is the cost at which the AI model basically consumes tokens or, bits of data to process whatever you're asking, is not fixed. It varies from day to day, minute to minute, and it has a lot of variability on it. Now take, for example, a very hypothetical but possible scenario where, oil goes to 150. I'm not making a statement it will or will not, and half the data centers in the world shut down because it will be very difficult to run them. Your token cost is going to shoot through the roof because it's demand supply. At that time, if your processes are fully digitized and running on agentic technology or on generative AI, your cost is suddenly going to become extremely prohibitive, or rather impossible to run. And being mission critical systems, banks can't say that now the cost is very high, now I'll stop running this system. You'll have to keep running it. And ultimately somebody has to pay the price. And it shows up in the bank's bottom line, in shareholders, returns. In the case of PSU banks, typically the government has to fund all of that. So it's a risk. GPUs, as everybody knows, are made by only 2 or 3 companies in the world. I think everybody here is familiar with, and there's enough written in the press about it, so I'll not again waste everybody's time. GPUs or fabs as they are called are concentrated in some very, very sensitive geopolitical areas of the world. What happens if those suddenly get taken over by hostile power? I think these are things which could spike the cost. We have to be aware of it. Again, not everything needs to be AI driven. In India, for example, humans are still relatively inexpensive as compared to a US. It's not necessary. If a human being can do a job well at 1/10 of the cost, there's really no reason to give it to AI. AI has to be used judiciously as a tool. I would very vehemently like to say to the room here, people keep asking, is AI going to take humans' jobs? No. A human being's job is not going to be taken by AI. It is going to be taken by another human being who uses AI better than the first human being. So it's a tool. We have to remember that. And before we build excessive dependency on AI, we have to also take at least a 5-year call on the dependency, because again, I'll end by saying that banks play a very, very important role and a very infrastructure kind of role in the country. And since today's topic is next chapter in India's banking transformation, I think the next chapter at least we have to think for the next 5 years. Thank you.
Well, I think again, this brings to me a thought ki, my wife, she wanted to buy a dishwasher, and that dishwasher was costing almost 55,000 rupees. बोले हम बर्तन अभी खुद ही करेंगे. मैंने कहा जब मेड 2,000 रुपये में करके जा रही है monthly, look at the cost versus the human, and she's also getting employed, she's getting salary, उसका घर चल रहा है. तो हमें मशीन लगाएंगे, उसमें डालने तो बर्तन तुम्हें ही है ना, निकालने भी तुम्हें, बस वो तो धोने का काम कर रहा है. So that's the right thought, sir, that you have said, कि it is the human cost vis-a-vis the AI and installation and the setup cost, and also the risk associated, as well as again the control functions. It is again AI, artificial intelligence versus human intervention versus human control. And all those things, it's a mix, and it's a I think a cost benefit of all these areas. And so I think a wonderful discussion we've had. I hope you've gained from it. Any questions? Last 2 minutes are left. Any questions we would like to invite from the audience? Anybody? So everything either received or nothing received, huh? So wonderful, sir. Thank you very much.
the topic was very dynamic. I thought there will be a lot of questions, but I think you might have all addressed a lot of things like you already mentioned. I think one of the panelists in 2-3, they have really spoken about the entire agenda that we should look forward to for the future banking of tomorrow. So can we have a huge round of applause? Come on, the collective room of all the leaders. Thank you. And I'll also request Ritika from Carix. She's a manager of sales, along with Namrata, senior manager of sales, Carix, and Mihir Patil, assistant manager marketing. All three of you to join us for felicitation. Give me a moment, They all are doing the power networking. So they were very willing to felicitate the panel, hence I will want to wait for them. I think mindful discussions, anything you would like to summarize, like the entire thing? Something you feel that there will be a top three?
Yeah.
Okay, we do have, okay.
Good afternoon. I have a question for Ravindra sir and Shuchi ji. There is a question about the recent warning by our finance ministry about cloud mythos. So what is the approach of Bank of Baroda and HDFC Bank for cloud mythos?
So I think that's one of the actually biggest threat which banking industry is facing. And we know about one mythos from Anthropic, but not sure that these tools are already not there from China or other things, because mythos is open, but other tools that might be existing there. And therefore, this brings one of the biggest threat to the financial system. And I think the cyber criminals, as I told, that has become one of the biggest risk for us. And more than us, once it's open, for example, for the public, they might use those tools, and they might already be using those tools. So your cyber security, I mean, you can't compromise on that. And as Indraneel ji was talking about quantum computing, that's another threat. Now, along with quantum computing, if you have Anthropic, I mean, it can create havoc in the entire financial system, because the computing power, again, it requires. Today's encryption, I think it requires years to solve your passwords and all. But once you have quantum computing, so it can immediately solve. It can solve in seconds that problem, that mathematical algorithm. And therefore, it brings one of the biggest threat. So how we are responding to it is that we are within the organization looking at how fast we can actually patch up, and how fast you can look for own vulnerabilities, and how far you can do those red teaming exercises, get to know your weaknesses, exploits, and then fix up them as early as possible. And whatever tools are available at the marketplace, utilize them, get in touch with the industry and fintech players who have these kind of tools, and ask more and more teams to actually participate and look for these kind of vulnerabilities. So that is what you can do. The other side of it is that the education within the organization, I mean, all the people within the organization should be aware. For example, we have 75,000 people. We operate in more than 19 countries. And therefore, that education is must. And you know, today, when our CXO, for example, sends a link, phishing link to all the employees, some of the employees might still be able to click on it without verifying from where it is coming. And this is one of the very advanced thing which we are talking about. So this is where we are trying to do. We are trying to build the defenses against it. So hopefully, if the tool is available in future, like they have done for some of the US companies and they participated, and if it is available, I think the banks will again be going for that and fixing those vulnerabilities. But right now, we are trying to reduce the time period between the patch fixes. So it's not kind of like the patch comes and then you are updating after 3 months, 6 months. So this is the time period which can be exploited. So your ability to reduce it and bring it closer, and then working with your third parties. So today, for example, we run core banking solution. The core banking solution is not ours, it's provided by Infosys. And therefore, you need to work along with Infosys or other such tech players. It's the entire ecosystem. It's one of the software I'm highlighting. So we need to come together and build those defenses and fix up those vulnerabilities. So that is where we are involving ourselves. Yeah, thank you.
Just to add to whatever was just mentioned on Bank of Baroda. So obviously all of these things are definitely that are being done. Also, as I said, that if there is a technology which will come and it'll be a boon, it'll be a bane. Now with my thoughts also coming in, there are obviously players who started figuring out how to counter it. So you start talking to them, you start figuring out how do you do predictive checks. You have red teams, you have ethical hackers. All of those also probably start helping you to try and figure out your vulnerabilities. And staff, as I said, human beings land up being the weakest link. So how do you ensure that not just the people in your team, but all your partners, because banks our size and banks with the kind of multiple things that we do, we don't just talk to one partner, we're not just engaged with different use cases, we have different partners. Any vulnerability that comes open for them is in complete openness for our systems, right? So how do you ensure that whatever controls and checks that we are putting in place, how do you ensure that all our partners are also following the same protocols? So those are the things that we are working on, apart from whatever Sir just mentioned.
Just to end up, I will add one more point, that whatever compliant you are, whatever certificates you have for the day, even today, you are open for the frauds and vulnerabilities from the next second. So it is very important that the resilience within the organization is created to counter this for 24/7 and 365 days. It is most important.
Very well said. Thank you. And can we have a huge round of applause for that fabulous answer? Thank you. Also, I'd like to once again call upon Namrata, Senior Manager Sales, Carex, Ritika, Manager Sales, Carex, along with Mihir Patil, Assistant Manager Marketing. Can we have all three of you on the stage, please? A huge round of applause, and one by one, please join us on center stage to felicitate our panelists. I may now request Indraneel Pandit, Chief Digital Officer, the Federal Bank, to please join us on center stage and accept the certificate. Thank you for your presence, sir. Thank you, a very fabulous input and insights. May I now request Vishram Dixit, MD and CEO, Dombivli Nagari, Sahakari Bank. Thank you, sir, for your key insights. Can we have a huge round of applause, everybody? May I now request Ravindra Singh Negi, Group Chief Risk Officer, Bank of Baroda. Thank you, Mr. Negi, for joining us, and it was a privilege hearing from you and your insights, in fact. Can we have a huge round of applause for him? May I now request Shuchi Mahajan, Head Fraud Prevention and Analytics, HDFC Bank, to please join us. Thank you, ma'am. Once again, it was fabulous listening to you on panel. It was a great perspective that you have shared from your viewpoint. And of course, making a roadmap to this fabulous discussion is our moderator, Gursharan Rai Bansal, CGM, India Post Payments Bank. Can we have a huge round of applause for him? Thank you, sir, for navigating this very fabulous panel, very insightful. Can we have all the panelists on the center stage for a group picture, please? I'll request you to be there, yeah, please. Well, wow, that the next chapter of banking will definitely not only belong to those who merely are adopting it, but those who have a courage to lead it, and phenomenal leaders. Can we have once again a huge round of applause for the entire panelists?